So one of the coolest things about like daring to dream or like goal setting, achieving full potential, somebody once said to me that potential means you haven't done nothing yet. That was Pat Summitt, my teammate, and when we played together, and the great Hall of Fame coach. And I can remember being like 18 years old and her saying, everybody was telling me, Nancy, you have great potential. I'm the youngest player on the Olympic team in 1976. And, everybody's like, you got potential. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, I have potential. And then I asked Pat, I said, hey, but I have a lot of potential. She goes, Nancy, I have to be honest with you. Potential means you haven't done nothing yet. I don't think I've ever used the word potential after that. So for me, like if you're a high school coach or if you're a middle school coach, you want to get to the highest level that you can, and everybody has a max. If I get to the NBA and somebody gets to the G League or to college or high school, it doesn't mean you're not good. It just means that we all have a different max. And no matter what we do, we have an effect on children, on young people, on players, and that's part of your growth. And let me take you one more time to my first coaching job. I didn't know that I wanted to coach at all. And then I retired from the WNBA at 39 years old back in 1997. And I got interviewed by the Detroit Shock of the WNBA expansion and the Washington Mystics, both the expansion teams in the W. I ended up being the coach and general manager for the Shock. I didn't really like, I knew player personnel, I knew talent, but I had never coached actually X's and O's, then a lot of player development. So what I did to find out what I didn't know, this is part of achieving your potential. I didn't have to know it all. I knew people who knew it all. So I would pick up the phone and call somebody that I admired or a coach that I've watched and say, I have a question. Why do we go from this drill to this drill to this drill? I felt like I was a robot. So this is part of your potential, is communication with your players. Tell them why you have them going from this drill to that drill to the next drill. So they do things intentionally and with purpose. And it helped me so much when I was coaching my team as a young coach. And 30 years later, having coached in the W, having coached in the NBA G League, having coached in the NBA with the Sacramento Kings, and then currently with the Big Three and Power, who won the championship in 2018. So everything is possible, but how do we do this? And a lot of it is really important because getting people to their max, including us as coaches, we have to have the power of the dream. And the dream for you, for me, for somebody else is going to be different, no matter what you do. So my dream is, here I come off the court as a Hall of Fame basketball player. I didn't want to be a failure as a coach. So internally, I felt like I had to, live up to the standards that people kind of viewed me at. And sometimes that can be a trap. But I just, maybe that was my ego, but I knew that I needed to be at a higher level. So that's why, man, I worked so hard. It was crazy. So I believe, and those of you who know me know that you have to see it, say it, to be it. And I had to see myself being a coach. Every day I was, be in my office and I'm like, Nancy, you can do this. I had to see myself being successful as a coach. And then, so you see it, you say it, to be it. And then when I got the job as a head coach, I was already there because in my mind, I had already put that out into the universe. And I was comfortable. And to be a coach, you can't be meek. You have to have a belief system because you're in a leadership role. And, young people can tell if you're a fraud, if you're really confident, if you really are prepared, and you have to be, because they'll break it down. And I remember I got tested quite a bit in the W with my players, asked me why we were doing this. And then really Rashad McCants, who played for the University of North Carolina, great player, one of the smartest players I ever coached. And he could be a nuisance, but he was a brilliant nuisance. He was a little kind of Rain Man-ish. And I'm coaching him in the men's league. I know I was the first head coach in a men's professional league with the Texas Legends. And we're running a play, and I have some guys who are former NBA guys, Antonio Daniels and Rashad McCants. And so we were running something on the weak side. We were running a weak side eye defensively. And he's like, well, then what are we going to do on screen roll when the person, penetrates the middle and the bottom person comes up and the ball gets passed to the corner? I said, Rashad, we're going to X out on the weak side. We're going to, tag the cutter who's coming through the lane. And we might have to bump switch if it's a big on a little. He was trying to set me up for failure. And I was not going to let him set me up for failure. And after that, he never tried to dog me again in practice. Like, she's a woman, she don't know what she's talking about. So I had to be prepared, for my moment, the same way we're asking you and you're asking your players to be prepared for their moment. And it happens. So, sometimes it's okay to talk about your dreams, your aspirations, what you want. And then you can share those stories with your players. I do it all the time. And, I talk to them about determination and a belief system and hard work and also accountability. So what's accountability? I'm coaching. I just told you I was a, 39, 40-year-old coach with the Detroit Shock. So I made sure that I was reaching out to people that could help me. And Al Brown was Pat Summitt's lead assistant at Tennessee. I mean, he's amazing. And I asked Al if he would come to Detroit and if he would just take notes on me during the season and in preseason. So he was like, okay. I said, make sure that I'm making the right substitutions. Did I call the timeout in the right place? Walk me through, was that the right play at the right time? Did I understand and time score possession? And, people are like, who's this guy in the gym? I said, he's critiquing me. And people are like, the coach is being coached? I said, yeah, I want to get better. I have to be better to be better for you. And that's what I ended up doing. So he made me a better coach because he pointed out certain things that maybe I could have done better. And you should do the same thing. I found it to be, confidence is humility. Arrogance is not. So to be arrogant, because I'm Nancy Lieberman, I'm a Basketball Hall of Famer, now I'm coaching in the W, the second year of the W. Oh no, I needed to be better than, I couldn't be just as good as my peers. So when the Shock in my first year, when we missed the playoffs on a tiebreaker and the light went on, you either make the playoffs or miss the playoffs on a tiebreaker. So now I had something else to communicate to the team. And we talked about it. Like if we win the games we're supposed to win, the games that are going to be hard on the road, maybe back-to-backs, those are going to be gut check, and we're going to have to grind through them. But you got to win the games you're supposed to win, and you have to win the games, in your division, because that will either get us to the playoffs or not. And I will tell you, our first year we went 17-13, missed the playoffs on a tiebreaker. Second year we became the first expansion team in the history of the WNBA to make the playoffs on a tiebreaker. We won that. And even as I'm doing the TV right now, currently for the Oklahoma City Thunder, they won the West. They're the youngest team to win the West in the history of the NBA. They're second youngest team in the NBA, 25 years of age. And from day one, I kept preaching on TV. This is going to come. And we didn't know how good they were. And I'm not going to tell you I knew how good they were. I knew they were going to be a playoff team. But I'm telling you, I kept saying they have to win. They have to hold the tiebreaker over Denver. They have to have the tiebreaker over the Clippers. They have to have the tiebreaker over the Mavericks. And then that's exactly how they won the Western Conference. And that's what we're supposed to do, right? That's what we're supposed to do when you're daring to dream. You're dreaming with your team that the youngest team in the history of the NBA could win the Western Conference, the very important, amazingly talented Western Conference. And you guys have your own, I mean, I'm just kind of giving you scenarios. So one, the power to dream. Two would be setting goals. And really, I think it's important to explain the difference between a dream and a goal. Those are two different separate things. So you want to teach the SMART goal setting method, specifics, measurables, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Like we got to do it in this period of time. And then you want to provide examples, not only to your coaching staff, but to your players. They need examples of how to set effective goals, not only for, the athletes, but for our team. And they should be achievable ones. The other thing I've done with my basketball teams is overcoming obstacles. There's going to be obstacles, right? There's going to be a plane that's delayed. There's going to be players that are sick. There's going to be an injury. There's somebody's going to get fouled out or thrown out of a game. So I think it's so important to discuss common obstacles that, athletes are going to face: injury, setbacks, self-doubt. They're real and they're going to happen, and you have to be prepared for that and be prepared to help that student athlete, and then possibly give them shared strategies on what they can do for overcoming the obstacles. Most important thing above anything else is their mind. Their mind has to be strong in good or in bad. They have to be resilient. They have to, like I just said, a positive mindset, and they have to have, you're their support system. That is so important, that they know and they trust that there is a support system around them. That's the way they're going to build trust in you. You're going to build culture, and they're going to know on their worst day they can still come to you as a coach, as somebody that they look up to and revere, because you're like that parent. A parent, the kids know they're going to get fed. They're going to have hopefully a place to put their head down. If things are good, bad, parents are going to be there. Might not always be what they want to hear, but they're going to know that they're loved, they're cared for, and they're protected. It doesn't matter how old. I want to know I'm being protected, and we all want to know that, so that's really important. Then the next thing would be achieving your full potential, the importance of hard work, dedication, discipline. Then share tips for creating growth in your mindset, growth physically on the court, continuous improvement, which is really, really important. You have to show them, and I'll give you an example. When I was coaching with the Sacramento Kings, I had a young man on my team, Seth Curry. He's Stephen Curry's brother. And Seth, he was playing in the G League. I don't know how much he was making at the time, but it wasn't a lot. And every day he'd come to practice. He never got his uniform off. He really, the first 30, 40 games, he very rarely played. Every time Seth came in the gym, I put him through the same drills that I did DeMarcus Cousins or Rudy Gay and Rajon Rondo. I didn't treat him any different than them, even though he was, young in his development. Maybe he didn't get his 10,000 hours yet. He wasn't there, but he was a very good player. And I used to emphasize to him, I'm telling you, Seth, something is going to happen during an 82 game schedule, and you're going to get your opportunity. But every day you walk in here, you have to show all the coaches that you are worthy of minutes that you're going to get, and that you work hard, and that you have a winner's mentality, and that you have a great mindset, and you're a great team player. And every day he came in, he did his drills. I mean, you've seen the famous Curry pregame warm-up drills. He worked on his shooting. I mean, he was the first one there, last one to leave, putting up just hundreds of shots a day. And he probably thought I was blowing smoke at him. And I said, every day, what's your goal today? I would ask him every single day, what is your goal? So we had to have a common goal every day to keep him interested, because he wasn't getting off the bench and getting on the court. And then we were towards the end of the season, maybe 20 games to go, and they were shutting it down. We weren't going to make the playoffs. So they sat Rondo, they sat Darren Collison, they sat, some of these really great players. And guess who started? Seth Curry. He started for us the last 16 games of the year, and he actually shot over 50% from three. He outshot his brother, Stephen, from three. And then he goes on to get signed by the Mavericks, get signed by the Portland Trailblazers, get re-signed by the Mavericks. And the story is amazing. I mean, he'll probably make close to $100 million in his basketball career, just because we kept him believing in himself and gave him some of those things that I've talked about. So emphasizing, players also, by the way, want to know, this is just another point, emphasize the role of the coaches in supporting the athlete's growth and development. For me, I was very empathetic for my players. I knew that it was very competitive. I know there's a lot of eyeballs on them, and they're babies, they're human beings. They don't want to be embarrassed. And sometimes when you don't play and you're sitting behind the bench, or you're asked to not be activated for that game, that says a lot. I mean, it's sometimes it's a cruel world, sometimes it's an amazing world, but we have to look at each athlete differently, because everybody needs something different. They're not cookie cutter. I can tell you, 30 years of coaching and having played for Pat Riley, having played for the great Hall of Famer Frank Layton with the Utah Jazz. I played for the Lakers in Summer League in 1980. I didn't have a WNBA. In 1986 and 87, I played 2 years in the USBL, a men's league, with NBA guys. It was like the NBA G League. And then I also played in Summer League for the Utah Jazz. I don't know how many of you on this call have ever picked up a charge on Karl Malone and lived to tell about it. That was me. It was either a great play or stupid, but I'm here, so I guess it was a great play. So you have to overcome things, right? Sometimes in life you have to go over things. Sometimes in life you have to go under things. Sometimes in life you have to go around things, and sometimes in life you have to go through things. And we're all are going to go through something in life, individually, or we can do it collectively. And with my coaching staff, before we ever went to the court with the players, we would meet, we'd lay out the practice plan. We were very, defined in what we were going to do, and we had flexibility within that. And we would walk out. You could disagree with me. It did not bother me at all. Agree, disagree. When we walk out to the court, to the players, we are aligned. If you are not aligned, players will tear you guys apart, and that's where dissension, and that's where weakness, and that's where culture is broken. If you're an assistant coach, be loyal. Don't talk behind a coach's back to players. Don't try to curry favor that maybe one day if this person gets fired or let go, you got the job. Just do your job. You were hired to do a job. Do your job to the best of your ability. And if you become really, really good, somebody's going to hire you. If you're a snitch, if you're not loyal, if you're not conscientious, don't blame anybody but yourself, because you're not going to get the job that you hope for. It doesn't matter what level of basketball. And the players will know. They'll be chatting about it. And it might be on TikTok. It might be on Snap. It might be on the gram. It might be on X. And you will have set yourself up for failure instead of setting yourself up for success. I've seen it. I'm not going, I wonder if that thing really happens. I know for a fact what happened. So don't get caught up in that. So what I'm thinking right now with you guys is, I want to kind of recap a few things. I want to recap the key takeaways from, if you will, this presentation that I'm talking about now. I want to encourage coaches to empower their athletes to dream big and achieve full potential. I want you to encourage your assistant coaches, your managers, and anybody who's in a support staff. I hope you will help them build their dreams and get to their full potential, that next level of their career. Goal setting. I'm big on setting goals. I'm like a thoroughbred. I kind of need the rabbit running, so I have something to work towards. That's really important. Some people need it. I guess some people don't, but goal setting, maybe some worksheets for them or some templates, they get in the weight room and then they see their name on the wall because they've bench pressed the most. It's okay to have, fellowship and competitiveness. That is very healthy for what you can. It just makes everybody who walks into the gym, on the field, on the baseball diamond, soccer, it doesn't matter. It makes everybody come to the game just a little bit more prepared and focused. Inspirational